Hello. I would request all our guests to take their seat so that we can start the next session of our program. Uh, Fani, Syed sir is going to moderate the next session. So, हाँ. Hello, everybody. We are going to start our session post-lunch. On 2022, at G20 Summit in Indonesia, two of the programs of DEF, PM Wani and Wireless for Communities, were selected as case studies. There's a small video which gives a preview of this event, and I would request Mr. Osama Manzar to come and launch the video.
So there is nothing to launch about the video. आप लोगों को ये बताना था कि शायद पता होगा आप लोगों को कि this 2022 and 23 India has got the presidency of G20, right? तो इत्तेफाक से हम लोग प्रिपेयर नहीं थे ना सरकार प्रिपेयर थी, लेकिन G20 ने DEF के काम को एज ए केस स्टडी यूज़ किया है ये बताने के लिए पूरी दुनिया को कि डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए ये केस यूज़ किया जा सकता है। जैसे और थोड़ा समझाने के लिए बोलूं, जैसे इंटरनेट रोशनी प्रोजेक्ट है, उसमें इंटरनेट रोशनी प्रोजेक्ट जो है वो टी गार्डन के अंदर इंटरनेट को लेके जाना बहुत मुश्किल काम था। ऑस्टिन वगैरह या जो लोग टी गार्डन से आए हैं उनको पता होगा कि वहाँ इंटरनेट ठीक से जाता नहीं है, काम नहीं करता है, तो कैसे लेके जाएं, और बिना बड़े बड़े टावर लगाए हुए। तो डीएफ ने इसके ऊपर कई साल से बहुत काम किए हैं और उससे रिलेटेड कुछ मॉडल्स खड़े किए हैं जिसको हम कम्युनिटी नेटवर्क्स बोलते हैं। तो G20 ने हमारे मॉडल को अडॉप्ट करके इंडोर्स करके बोला है कि अगर लास्ट माइल कनेक्टिविटी करनी है, डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर करना है, तो ये मॉडल बहुत अच्छा है। तो उसी पे एक छोटा सा वीडियो अपने बारे में हम लोगों ने कि हमारे मॉडल को लिया है। तो ये मॉडल के बारे में 2 मिनट का वीडियो है। आई डोंट हैव अ लैपटॉप। ये किसके हाथ में बटन है लैपटॉप का?
Moving on to our next session, we have requested few of our guests to come and join us on this event and provide their perspective on digital empowerment in Northeast. I would request Mr. Syed Sultan Qazi to host the session and join me on the stage.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. And so after the lunch, the good food, I believe the food was good and you enjoyed the food. And thank you for those feedback so that we deserve another good dinner maybe. So food for thought we had, and now let us have some knowledge discussion after lunch so that we are again active for and so that we deserve another tea break properly. So after the lunch. So thank you everyone. So now, so we have, so I think we have some of our distinguished guests who have come in now. So just a brief to our guest that this is a 20th year of Digital Empowerment Foundation. And so this time, this annual get together kind of a thing is happening here in Guwahati with our DF partners, its team members in the region who are working in the states, in multiple states in the Northeast. And we have the board members, we have guests, distinguished guests. So at the first half we were talking, sharing stories. We discussed the projects, the technology innovations, what could be done, क्या कर सकते हैं, नहीं कर सकते हैं. And then we had I think good lunch. And now after this lunch, we are having a kind of a discussion with some of the stakeholders, because we all very frequently use the word stakeholder. Without stakeholders के बिना हम लोग कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, कुछ काम अकेले हम लोग नहीं कर सकते हैं. And इसमें इस discussion में एक 45 minutes around discussion we will have representatives from the government and then academia and the civil society organization. So I welcome here, as my colleague had said, my name is Syed Sultan Qazi and I am just here to facilitate the discussion. So I welcome Mr. S. Sundar. He is the 2014 batch of Indian Forest Service officer, and he is managing director of AMTRAN. It's a very nodal agency of government of Assam in the IT and ITES sector. So Mr. Sundar, I welcome you to the dais. Thank you for joining us. I know it's extremely busy, your schedule. And I must thank Mr. Goyal, Mr. Anurag Goyal, Principal Secretary IT, and also, I think I think you should sit here, so we want to hear you more. So Mr. Goyal, I think, and thank him also for, I think, requesting Mr. Sundar also join us here because his inability to join because of some pressing issues. So can I invite next? Chion Judorent Jurak. Mr. Jerak is Associate Professor of Transdisciplinary Science and Technology Studies, Athena Institute, Bridge University, the spell a little bit, but he's from Amsterdam. So he is here. I think very interesting person and his work. And then can I invite Dr. Amirullah Khan? So he is a development economist and professor at MCR HRDI of the government of Telangana. And he's a DA board member as well. Welcome, sir. Please take your seat. Lastly, can I invite Moinuddin Ahmed? He's the executive director of SESTA. SESTA is a prominent and a non-governmental organization in Assam and Northeast. So I think I welcome Ahmed. Okay, so I think we can start with all your permissions. Great. If you're feeling hot, we can play the AC a little bit. No? Okay, fine enough. Okay, so I had just a quick introduction I've given, but I wrote few words. I should not waste it. I think so. Because when you try to say impromptu, then you tend to forget many things. So I think Mr. Sundar is, of course, as I told you, 2014 batch IAS officer, and he's from IIT Madras in civil engineering, if I'm correct. He did a lot of consultancy works and a lot of invaluable works he did. And then he joined in 2014 in the government service. He held many positions in the forest divisions of, he's from the Assam Meghalaya cadre. And so interestingly, I think I got to know that he also was the managing director of Guwahati Smart City Limited, which is the prime program of the Government of India Smart City Program. And also now he holds this important position of managing director of Ampton. And Ampton has got a lot of responsibilities in Assam, infrastructure building, digital capacity building, and so on and so forth. And one of the very busiest position is Ampton, I must tell, I think Mr. Sundar is having. Thank you for joining us. So Mr. Professor, Doctor, what did I say you, both? Two? Two, okay. Dr. Jarak, okay. So he's associate professor, and interestingly, I think his interest, as I told, he's an associate professor in Athena Institute. Interestingly, his areas of interest are knowledge standardization and evidence building, and healthcare markets, and interestingly, technology for inclusions. So this interdisciplinary perspective in technology and society, I think is very critical, and I think in India also, even the universities and academics are trying to take that thing. And thank you for coming. It's a coincidence, by the way. I know that you're traveling miles and miles, thousands of miles you are here. Thank you so much. Dr. Amirullah Khan, I think, of course, we all know him very closely, but for many of you, he has been ex-civil servant. He was in the civil service, but he just resigned for some reason that I still don't know. But he, from the former Andhra cadre, UP, Uttar Pradesh cadre of Indian Civil Service, IAS, Indian Civil Service, but he just left his job because I think he found other way of creativity and getting himself excelled. So he's a development economist, and he worked in various capacities. Interestingly, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he was a deputy director, sir, in India. And currently he is a faculty professor at MCR HR, Human Resource Development Institute, Government of Telangana. He trains civil service officers and all. So, and that is, I think he wears many other hats, but I can't say now. And lastly, Mr. Ahmed, I think you have done your studies not in Amsterdam, but in somewhere, I think. You have done some studies? Wow, great. Thank you so much. And that, I think that perspective, and then coming in Assam, working in Assam for a grassroots organizations, which is more than 20 years old, I believe. Sesta? More than 11 years old, but is very well known for the work that he's been doing on the ground with the community, self-help groups, and all those things. So we are here, and before I start the discussion, I think my colleagues are just eyeing and telling me that there is a small felicitation to be done for all of you. Please, I think first, please come. I think I request Dr. Amir sir to felicitate Mr. Sundar with a gamocha, the GI tag gamocha. Not this is GI tagged, but and Japi. Thank you so much. Thank you. This hamper was for the at the end moment, but they give you early only. So, thank you so much. Again, I request Dr. Amir sir to felicitate Mr. Ahmed, Moinuddin Ahmed. So Mr. Ahmed had got a lot of collections of gamchas at home because he used to get everywhere. A trunk of gamchas you will get. And lastly for Mr. Jarek. Jarek, you got 2 times or 1 time only? So you might be beautifully going in the flight and wearing this, and I think you'll not get rains and anything. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amir sir. So I think yours cap is a little later. Already there? Okay, great. Thank you. So let us start quickly. Okay. So let me start the discussion. Let me first invite Mr. Sundar. I think we'd like to hear. So we have 45 minutes or so. One thing is that Uh, because since this is we are talking about digital session, digital empowerment, and what it means, because the meaning of digital empowerment means different things to different people, different agencies, the meaning is different in context, person and situation and so on and so forth. So you held the position of the Smart City Managing Director, and Smart City initiative of the Government of India has been largely on infrastructure building, very strong, reliable, sustainable urban infrastructure, which is digitally smart infrastructure, which is infrastructure loaded investment and focus, right? So how do you see the experience in terms of the investment that we made in Assam and the work that we try to do in Assam towards digital empowerment? Because ultimately smart infrastructure also means that people has to be smart, the fundamentals has to be smart, so that we can access those facilities in a more meaningful way. So I think that is the first thing that we would like to hear from you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kazi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sundar. Thank you so much for inviting me to this function. As has been mentioned by Mr. Kazi, Mr. Goel, Anurag Goel, IAS, was not present today, but in his place, as a representative of the IT department of the Government of Assam, I am here. So, as he has already said, I am presently serving the post of as the managing director of Amtron. As you all are aware, it's a state PSU of under the Government of Assam. So, but you had specifically asked me regarding how. So there is a special focus on physical infrastructure, especially in the Northeast, especially from the government side. That is certainly the case, because if you see, I'm sure there are very many well-traveled individuals here in the audience as well as on the dais. I would take the case of Hyderabad. So you're presently serving there. So if you see from the Google map, you see the big roads. If you just zoom out over onto India, you see the biggest roads across India. Yes, like those roads are a little bit thicker in the sense there are like more number of lanes and very well made. So you will see a bunch of roads that stand out. There is a network in Delhi, which is the ring roads of the past, but there is also this ring road that has come across Hyderabad. It is like, it's massive, and it ensures that a lot of people move from one location to the other very fast. You don't see that in the Northeast. You see that there is a significant differential in the amount of investment that has happened in physical infrastructure in the Northeast vis-a-vis the rest of the country. Therefore, there is a justification that I would defend the government in saying that there is a justification in concentrating on physical infrastructure as a prerequisite to bolstering the rest of the economy, because with the logistics is the main issue that the Northeast faces vis-a-vis maybe the rest of India. That's the main drawback which investors, I'll speak from an investment point of view as well, because I'm part of a company right now. So from an investment point of view, logistics is a definitive problem for the Northeast. Coming to the digital infrastructure part, obviously you solve the logistics problem, you'll have to solve the power problem, then you will have to definitely solve the human resource problem, which has to be done simultaneously. And I was speaking to a member of BEF just a while ago. He was kind enough to accompany me for lunch here. Very delicious lunch, by the way, today. So he was talking about the infopreneur concept that you guys are pioneering. It's definitely a good additive in order to try to push for information to be given to the public on how they can best use government resources. For one, being a representative of the government, would like to say that, see, Amtron and the IT department and the government of Assam, they had developed your public facilitation centers to ensure that various PFCs, I'll call them. We have developed that. We've developed the CSCs, Common Service Centers, which is now run by the Government of India under a special purpose vehicle. And there are many different kinds of schemes operated by the IT department, by area society, in order to increase the digital literacy. We had a pioneering scheme, the PMG Disha program, to create digital literacy. But obviously there's a need for DEF, because the cutting edge, customized support that the individual citizen, especially identification wise, to try to identify the the digital entrepreneurs who will become the driving force of some sort of entrepreneurship in society, especially in the hinterlands. There is a capacity issue with regards to the government, wherein it will be difficult for us to transparently identify persons of potential, which is where DEF, I would really like to thank DEF for the stellar role that they have played in doing so. Coming to the point that you talked about smart city. Smart city as a whole might be making infrastructure smart, but you'll have to make the people also smarter. So there is an issue with regards to bolstering digital infrastructure through these missions. These are largely limited to making cities better. But definitely there is a cause of concern as far as maybe say the rural hinterlands are concerned. I have myself worked in places. I've worked in North Lakhimpur. I worked in Bodoland in Kokrajhar district for about 4 or 5 years, and there's a big difference in what is happening here in Guwahati versus what is happening maybe across the North Bank. You see a district like Baksa, Udalguri. There is a stark digital divide, and I hope that the civil society and the government come together in order to solve these problems. Otherwise, you will have a situation where there is a internet-rich community and an internet-poor community. That's something that really needs to be looked at. But I'd love to hear more from the group here on stage.
Thank you. I think it was more of that you highlighted, and more of that digital divide within the divide also, that those are the kind of emerging challenges. Despite having digital, you can still have a digital divide of a different kind and character. Thank you so much for those initial points. So let me come back to Jerak. Let me come back to you. And Amsterdam, this Athens, Italy, right? Athena Institute, right? You, of course, European societies and European communities, the digital community is different. Certainly, will be different. Even the digital community in rural of your country will be different than what we are. So you are in a state. We are in a state of Assam, where I think Mr. Sundar talked about the divide, digital divide, connectivity, language issues, content issues, so much and so forth. So what are, because you have been also traveling a lot, I believe, as a socio-technocrat, I know, kind of mix of those, perspectives. So what could be those socio-cultural deterrents which still hindering the adoption? Because of course it's easy to say that there is no connectivity, there is no infrastructure and all those. It's generally we say, but also there's a question is about adoption, willingly taking it up, getting actively using those facilities from yourself, that behavioral aspect. So what are those socio-cultural deterrents that is still hinder people to accept technology and be part of the journey also? Because this is common, this is a challenge probably, I feel, because that both sides are equally important. So what do you have to say on this?
Now it will be back on. Thank you so much. First of all, namaskar, jahar, pranam, and goedemiddag, which is especially for Abner. He likes that hard Dutch G. I think first of all, it's a real privilege to be here at this 20th anniversary celebration, and very much for the questions you're asking. I think actually, to answer the question, I've mostly come here to learn. From the work that's being done by DEF and amazing partners. Because as you quite rightly pointed out, digital vulnerability and digital empowerment, the need for digital empowerment are unfortunately very widely spread. It's not like in a country like the Netherlands, there's no digital divides. They're quite large. Netherlands is a country in Europe with about the size of population of Mumbai. Small country, high income, universal health coverage. And still, there is a difference in health experienced and also even in absolute lifetimes between high and low socioeconomic positions of 7 years. So based on socioeconomic position, and these are people with full health access, you live 7 years shorter. And 16 years shorter in good experienced health. And this is actually increasing, this difference, due to the digital divide that is also rapidly increasing. And there's unfortunately not a lot of work that goes on to change that. One of the challenges is that developers, it's not just that things are not being adopted, but developers very often take themselves as the model of the end user, rather than trying to understand what those end users' needs really are. And the focus is on trying to make things technologically as advanced as possible, not on what the actual need is. Recently, I lost, on a travel, I lost my electronic toothbrush. So I needed to buy a new toothbrush. A new Oral-B toothbrush these days comes with AI, it comes with an app, and helps you to improve your dental practices. I think all I needed was a stick from the neem tree. That was all that was really needed. So I think that's happening. Those are the kind of technologies that are being developed. And meanwhile, the digital divide is growing. So there's a strong mismatch there between the need and what's being done. Now, yesterday I was very fortunate to be able to visit the Char that was in the movie previously, where the socialpreneur was there. And then you really realize that DEF and also Amnapari and partners like that are really doing exactly what is needed. And I think that is really digital Swaraj. And I think one of the interesting things when Gandhiji was asked why he was so critical about technology in the book Hind Swaraj, whereas the spinning wheel, the loom is also technology. He said, no, I don't. His answer was, I don't just want the Britishers to get replaced Indians. I also want to make sure that India gets rid of what he called machine craze. Right? Now, a toothbrush with AI, that is machine craze. It doesn't get worse than that. And he also said that the impetus behind machine craze is greed. So how do you change that? Well, Gandhiji said, replace greed by love and everything will be all right. And I think that's what we're witnessing here by the work of DEF. It's like a strong focus on compassion and empowerment, and that's the base of digitization. And we have a lot to learn about in the Netherlands. So that's why we're also collaborating. We're trying to develop a project for setting up a digital solution for rejoining homeless people with their families if they can't find them back. And that is socially very challenging, but it's also technically very challenging. Like, it's socially very challenging because we will have to build a lot of trust. And we hope the socialpreneurs will be part of building that trust. Technically, you might also really need quite advanced AI to be able to find out where people might come from if they don't remember anything. But that is worth making it technically advanced, if that's something you can achieve. Right? And I also know that if we can't do it together with DEF, then it's not possible. But at least then we tried with all our hearts. So I think that's the kind of commitment that DEF has been keeping going for 20 years, and that can really make the difference. So I would say that's really a happy birthday for Jan Manidor Hobecha.
Thank you. I think I think you talked about this social trust, and which also I think comes the digital trust. Trusting in technology is also important for the community, because there's still the question of trust, and credibility is also another, because the technology also comes up, but there's again a new problem area emerges. So that is again, you have to run after that problem area to solve those kind of thing, right? Thank you. So I will get back to you. Sir, I think I will come to you now. So Digital India is a focus, I think for the last, of course, more than 10, 20 years now, we are moving in the digital journey. And so being a development economist yourself, digital economy is the buzz, and that is a more reality now. The digital, if you don't be a part of a digital economy, then you cannot be a part of the economy. So how do you see that when we talk about a state like Assam, where it's still agrarian society, agrarian economy, So, and also the handloom, any cluster you pick up in Assam, it's more agrarian based. Even in Northeast, all agrarian handicrafts and all those ways. So, how do you see the transition from this traditional mode of economy that is still there and digital and transitioning into a digital economy mode? So, how do you see the mammoth of problems, or what is that we need to look into? Because that is I think, a challenge.
Thanks, Syed. Thanks. Good to have an almost student here with me, right? Um, for all of you, what I want to start off with is one, the big mistake we make often is that we club these really wonderful states into one region. And that's a big mistake we make. This beautifully diverse part of India is referred to as the Northeast, as one often irrelevant homogeneous bit. It's not. It is one of the richest parts of the country. It has 7 completely different states, amazing diversity within the states itself. And therefore, I think firstly we should understand that when we are looking at this part of India, we are looking at different regions with different specializations, different opportunities, and different threats. The second point that I want to make is that look at Assam. And 25% of crude oil in India comes from here. One of the first agricultural products that gets industrialized and exported is tea, and almost all of it comes from here. Some of the biggest cities and the trade centers that we have 100 years ago are this region of Kamrup and Dibrugarh and Tinsukia. What have we done to these cities? Why is Assam now in a situation where it is among the poorest states in the country from being one of the best? And you will see that this has a lot to do with how history has treated Assam. Over the last 200 years, all those conflicts, Bhutan, Burma, rest of the country, Japan, all of that, and then comes the sad story of infrastructure. And that is where I come to Syed's question. When we talk of the Digital Empowerment Foundation, or when we talk about the digital, we are talking about digital as a medium. We will be very successful when we wind up the Digital Empowerment Foundation. Because digital is just a medium, it is not the economy. The economy is tea and agriculture and manufacturing and petroleum and banking. It is in this interim phase that we are trying to ensure that people become educated in the digital network. It's like 20 years ago we were teaching everybody English. English is not the economy. English is just a medium to reach out to the rest of the world. Similarly, the digital is a medium, and till it develops, till everybody learns it, till everybody has access to it, that is till when institutions like the Digital Empowerment Foundation are useful. And our success will be when we make ourselves totally irrelevant, because that is when everybody will have digital access. The last point I want to make is that whenever proud civilizations that have been through problematic phases, and Assam is a prime example of that, a great, proud, independent civilization that very rarely was under any foreign rule, then goes into acute poverty because of the situation that exists, and then gets into all sorts of mess. You've had the worst kind of communal strife, all sorts of issues with issues with non-concerns like citizenship and so on, and therefore receded into acute poverty. For such a region, for such a state to then leapfrog, there is nothing more useful than the digital network, because it just allows you to take care of what Sundar talked about, that you just leap from the need to have physical infrastructure, from the need to have traditional education, and from the fact that it can empower all the communities. One of the biggest things about this part of the country is that education has been exalted, has been respected more than everybody else, and your biggest asset is the fact that in this part of India, women are respected far more than we do in the rest of the country. In the rest of the country, we treat women horribly. Here, you have treated them very well, and so the gender indices here are better. And we can see that in all our work, that wherever we have been able to take the digital network, women have been helped disproportionately. And this is the great case study of DEF in its venture to ensure that the most marginalized communities can leapfrog into the modern world. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I think with those I think, but the winding up of DF, of course, of course, we'll talk
Very soon.
talk later. So, but maybe another 20 years, because
10.
another 10 years. So we have a target of going, looking at another 10 years of digital empowerment founders. Thank you so much. But I think there is very beautiful insight. Oh yeah, that's another than digital divide we have to address. Okay, then we have to change that name a little bit. So, great. So Mr. Moinuddin Ahmed. So Seven Sisters Development Assistance is a not-for-profit. It's very prominently working in Assam and Northeast. It's very well known. You have been primarily working self-help groups, farming communities, FPOs, and continuously in a very continuously on the ground. So what is that digital empowerment kind of a situation or perspective that you have also come up with? Because if I'm a little correct, maybe your focus is not digital as such as an organization, but mostly around livelihood, enterprise building and all. So how do you see that as an executive director, head of an organization? How do you see that community coming up on that perspective or not coming up? So what? Because you are also part of another world where you understand technology, you talk, you understand all the narratives, but here also there is another. So what is that perspective that you have come up?
Thank you, Mr. Kazi, and good afternoon to all of you. So, as you said, we are basically working in a different field, mostly on livelihoods, on agriculture base, farm based, non-farm based, and also, as you said, SHG we are using the SHG as a platform. So very closely working with the state SRLMs in all states, and we have basically directly we are working with community in Assam, Meghalaya, and Tripura, and other states. We are actually supporting SRLM to basically build the staff capacity of the staff and as well as their cadres, basically. And Chesta mostly working with women members of a family. The point person of a family is women, and we call MK, Mahila Kishan, basically. So we also have working on many of other things, because only livelihood does not give a lot of things, does not enhance the kind of women in decision making in a household things, and also because our effort is to make women agency kind of thing. Women should have kind of capacity to come forward to also demand their things, whether their rights and whatever the rights and entitlements and all those things. So in that, what I see, digital this platform is have a lot of perspective is there, because it's not that this is deliberate or something like that, because this is need, because lot of things, because one cannot be here and the world is going on somewhere else. One cannot be in kind of in a level and then the world is going somewhere other level, and we should not move towards that, or should not choose that, and should not actually align with that transformation, because this if connectivity and everything is transforming that. Suppose, for example, if we want to now see the Aadhaar card, morning someone was telling no photo, because he had a hair color, so they are not identifying the photo. So all those things also have to understood by our women community, our colleague we are working with them. So this is a need, very utmost need I can say, to have their overall development not only livelihood, this one is on the economic part, but there is other things, social part, then health and education, everything is there. And everything now is the information, every schemes, everything is going through kind of no digital platform, not kind of no hardware like no earlier I can remember I came in this sector around 96, so I can remember to cancel a meeting you have to go to the village and give the information, and to organize a meeting you have to go. Now you can have a call and you can have a kind of WhatsApp message and you can do that. So there is a huge transformation happen in the whole world and our surroundings. So we have to have also have kind of have transfer. There is a change should be there. Now the thing is that as sir said, ki, no this language is kind of is called this is a media. So for this media also, that's why there is a lot of things required, because we have mostly in Northeast, we have huge diversity in kind of, if we can talk about suppose Chirang and Baksa sir has mentioned. So there are Bengalis, there are Muslims, there are Koch Rajbangshi, there are tribal Adivasi, and there are Boro. So you can see there are 5-6 languages required. In morning you have said you know 4 languages. I know 5, one more than you, including Uriya. so no, now the information passing in those languages is another challenge for us, all of us, basically. So how we have, how this platform can be, one thing is her said uniformity, there is again no network reach and high reach and low reach or somewhere not there. Even in Baksa we are working on that area. Even I can say, example, 2 days ago I was talking to two of my colleagues, Etlin and Melbourne, of this Umling block of this Rivoi district. They are nearby Guwahati, not so far. And they could not able to reach around more than 50 villages. In block 183 village, they are working somewhere in 120 or 30 like that. And rest of village they could not, as because connectivity is an issue, network is an issue, and all those things. So still there is huge uniformity is not there. Still there is a huge difference in terms of reach and all those things. And secondly, in Northeast is a special case for diversity, no? So there are huge diversity within village, within block, and within that. So we need lot of things, because even we are facing those challenges. We are running recently we have launched a program called Constitution Fellowship. Constitution Fellowship through support of Azim Premji Foundation. So we have some fellows. Now within the fellow there is a different language, because these are local people. So we cannot expect everybody will speak in English or Hindi or in Assamese. So there is we are challenging to translate every material into 3-4 languages. Similarly, in our for MIS system, we have the livelihood tracker app, where we do the family-based livelihood planning, and then that planning get into that MIS, and then again getting the data, tracking the this progress of those, even impact also. So where we also face challenges due to this language and due to this. So sometimes some part of the block data come, part of the block did not come, as because there is network issue and all those things. Similarly, we are also working with CRISIL Foundation. We are working on right and entertainment. So this is the one things where we have still have lot of improvement is there, lot of progress is there. We are quite aligned with the world where the world is going, but still there are pockets where we need to do a lot of work. And then last thing is that then we were trying to build kind of one things with Dasara. There is organization called Dasara who was to support on this kind of digital or all those things. So we have collective goods for common kind of thing we are trying to. For right and entitlements, what happened? The government do some kind of basic survey and find out this scheme can be launched. There is a beneficiary, there is a demand and all those things. But within the community, that information will go. And after then, during implementation, there is no kind of demand. Local area based demands are not come. We do not do anything on that, and then we can directly target those. Otherwise, what happened? I by chance fortunately meet Mr. Jarak or some, yeah. So and he is in need of that scheme and he is eligible for that. I am approaching him and doing that. but maybe nearby I am not approaching, so if that person, that house will also kind of need is there and eligible, but we are not reaching to them. But what is like for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, PMASY now, they have followed a socio-economic survey list. So from the bottom it will be go. So how that these things can be also done, how the demand can be generated, and then equally people should get opportunity, and how that in that way, in that how digital employment foundation on these things can be deal all those things.
Right.
And thirdly, other things. The last one.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah, last point just. There are other part. This is dealing with human being, but nature, the climate change and all those things, forest deforestation, suppose, and other crop damage and everything. So they cannot speak river damage or something like that. They cannot speak. So what could be the, just I am throwing this to others. So how the need of those can also come. Is
Very
there
true.
any like GIS, satellite images and all those? There are a lot of things. So can we do the kind of assessment, can do the,
Right.
yeah, how can we come?
So I
Sorry,
think-
thank you, I took a
thank
lot
you.
of time.
No. Thank you. I think those are very important perspective. Two things that you said was that is a demand-based. Demand-based, not only human demand-based, but nature demand-based. What are the crying needs that is coming up? We need just, how do we listen to them? How do we understand them and then design our solution, number one. Second is that when you talk about digital empowerment, it is also how the question challenge is about localizing the digital empowerment also, right? Otherwise, you cannot have a blanket kind of digital empowerment and design anything like that, right? Thank you so much. So I think this is one last, I think, quick, run through, I think, with all of you. Again, I think, Sundar, back to you. It's Ampton Assam Electronics Development Corporation, which is, again, I'm coming using the word infrastructure building. It's very important, resilient infrastructure, very important. But what about, do you see the challenge that, of course, we have seen, because we are other part of the site and we work closely with them. So we see there's a digital infrastructure facilities around, okay? That the challenge is of accessing those digital-based services. Right, accessing those digital-based services, that is one challenge we are seeing that quite often, and in the last mile, though, those are the, I think, more major challenges. Number one thing is that, so how do you balance that infrastructure versus other, right? And the second question is about that in this digital world emerging, every day is a digital society emerging, the kind of, mistrust also growing up, this misinformation, wrong information. What is the right digital information that we have? So in order to access those services riding on those digital infrastructure, right? So I think since you have been very closely working, why don't you share something?
Yeah, thank you so much. Just like to add a couple of points that the esteemed panelists here had talked about, just before getting into those points. So, sir, you had talked about how digital is a medium to ensuring access to services. Sir, I'd like to add an addendum to this and say that, sir, you look at your the state of Telangana, wherein Hyderabad initially was a rusty old town and just a lot of rocks everywhere, and now you see the transformation. I don't have anything against Hyderabad. I have lived there for a couple of years in my previous corporate role. So what I have heard from my friends on what Hyderabad was and how Hyderabad is, and the role of technology in transformation of those places. Why is that not possible in the Northeast? I mean, the role of technology in transforming a landscape, giving jobs to so many people, empowering them. Yes, I know the role that the people here in DF play in terms of access to those resources, but in the sense, if we are, as Amtron, as a corporate body, we are trying to push the government to try to create an atmosphere wherein, as sir said, greed of the corporates to invest in the Northeast as a destination to get better ROI, but from our end to try to get as many people as possible as in this technology sector working here in the Northeast, so that there is large-scale empowerment, economic empowerment through leveraging technology. So just another perspective, sir, that you were talked about. Sir, you talked about the demand that the schemes should have, and some schemes have that demand. Sir, from the government side, basically, I'm a bureaucrat. I see that there is so much competitive politics nowadays that the demand, the bottom-up demand is that answer is being given by the politics of the place. If I'm a politician, you're a politician in the same area, if I'm able to assuage more of the needs of the people, I'll get the votes 5 years from now. So I think and that is happening, sir, especially in the social media driven landscape wherein information is all around us. So how as a politician, so we are being driven by our political bosses to ensure that the needs of the field are addressed in an efficient manner with the leveraging the limited government resources that are there. Just a couple of points. You talked about access, the challenges that people have in accessing the increasing number of e-governance services that the government is, in a sense, offering to the people. Yes, there is an issue. We are trying to minimize the role that the cutting-edge bureaucracy plays. We're trying to digitize. We're trying to get DBTs, direct benefit transfer schemes, directly to the bank accounts of people. You're well aware of in Assam the Arunodaya initiative of ensuring that our mothers and sisters have an amount that is credited to their account. We have the PM Kisan initiative at the Government of India level. You have direct benefit transfer through, increasingly we are trying to, at the back end, we're trying to ensure that using our DIDS services, all the data that we have of all the people in the state of Assam, including the banking information, is digitized in a central manner. You have ration shops where so many people are being served. So trying to ensure that some sort of data registry can be created, and therefore we can and with that kind of analytics we can customize and try to cater to the needs or the demographic which the government feels at that time would be appropriate in order to fulfill a social gap and economic gap that is there in the society. The thing is the privacy aspect of it, which I would like to allude to, that there is some sort of an element of mistrust in technology. Will it be misused by the government, or will it be misused if there is a definite issue with regards to your fake news and all that being around. It's a challenge to the big tech companies, it's a challenge to the government as well in terms of usage of such volume of data. I mean, that is where, I mean, it's a tricky issue. I wouldn't be, want to be a voice of the government in this kind of a situation. I would like to say that yes, these are challenges, but we'll try to ensure that we follow all rules all the time. The rules are there, we'll try to follow them so that we're able to serve the purpose for which we are there.
Thank you. So yes, there are limitations, the political dimension, the political culture, and all those things are determinants, even in technology-based interventions also. That is, I think everything boils down to politics of decisions. I think, Jarek, one question is that Netherlands, because again I'm saying Netherlands because you're an advanced level of digital understanding, consumption, awareness, and all those things that is happening. So do you see a situation where the advancement of a digital society could also lead to a situation of digital exclusion? In terms of how do you see that narrative coming up very strongly, even digitally connected content, everything, probably there could be in situations where digital exclusion is still happening. So how do you see that narrative? Because in a state like Assam or Northeast or Indian societies, we are still emerging to that level where you are already there. But I think what is that probably we should start with?
Yes, thank you for coming back to that question. I think what you just very rightly expressed just now, if it is hard from a perspective of policymakers or scientists to really understand the needs that people have in that situation of digital exclusion. It is just really hard to first sort of imagine ourselves in that place. So one part of it is we should try, and we should acknowledge that we're not good at it. It's not how we're trained. It's not our natural sort of habitat. So that means the challenge remains the same, whether it's the work that's being done here in Assam or in a country like Netherlands, where digital exclusion, with all the advancement things that have happened, the digital exclusion has not become less, and it is likely to get bigger. And I think that is why I'm not being polite. I'm really here to learn, because I think your situation, but also the commitments that are so center stage through actors like DEF and the other organizations here, that means you keep that focus on what you're actually trying to address with digital empowerment, and how to make sure that it doesn't become sort of technology craze. And I think that's where the focus needs to be, and for that you need a combination of policymakers, scientists, NGOs, certainly also the people in the situation of digital exclusion as knowers. They have the knowledge, not necessarily the solutions. So I think DEF has been extremely successful in thinking through solutions that can work in these different places, but I also think they've done it with the people in those situations. And that's where I think the strength needs to come from. And as I say, in the Netherlands, we're not particularly good at that, because also there the distance from a municipality like the city of Amsterdam to people who are really severely digitally excluded is huge. It is a huge distance. So learning how to bridge that distance and how to really learn from the people in those situations about what possible good solutions might be for their situation, that's the big challenge. And that makes us humble, because we have to learn. So that's what I would like to say.
I think the humbleness is so important, that we learn from every moment. Thank you, Jarek. And I think, Mr. Ahmed, the one I think question is very brief, if you can respond to that, is that you have a program called 6-Year Journey in a block, development block, because you focus in a block, in 6 years you try to map that block and transform that. So do you see also similar kind of a journey possibility of digitally mapping a block also, where, because digital is not just only one word, there's so many nuances involved in that, the diversity in the community, the age groups, the needs, and whatever. So do you see that kind of a possibility in your work?
Yeah, I think because this our 6 years journey is kind of mapping on their livelihood requirement and resource availability, basically maybe water, land, and all those things. Even human resource also come into that. So similarly, yeah, if we think about the holistic development, yes, because it's a very difficult group linking with health, education, everything. Even if income has increased, then use of income, saving, or kind of financial security in the futures. So, yeah, digital. I think this empowerment as well as this platform is very much required to integrate all those things together. And if for integration even, yeah, I agree that means this is mapping is also required. Like we do mapping of livelihood, similarly, the mapping of that could be also very much useful to integrate all those things, and then to foresee a kind of holistic development within a family, then cluster of families, and then a block as a unit.
Thank you. I think that you say that digital mapping of a block is also important to map the journey and design programs accordingly.
I further get down into that, not only block. I am
Niche,
going to
huh?
family level, from a unit
Right.
development unit family.
Right. Digital mapping of families within that larger, development block. Thank you. Thank you. So, sir, I think last question is that, which is very common, often we talk about, is that hard data, we need data, right? Data to decide, decision making and all those things, socioeconomic data, even economic data and all. And also those things are very important. So how do you see that, of course, in a state like Assam and Northeast, of course, you have seen other states, the data capturing mechanism and the data authenticity, and sometimes we have seen in the newspapers and media, people are throwing data like this. we have done this, we have done this. How do we validate those data? We have given 100 crores to somebody or something. So what is that thing? Because it's all about playing with the data. So in this digital age, what information is important? How do we know what is the real data, not real data, whom to believe, whom not to believe? Because ultimately that is the whole boils down to that.
Thanks, Syed. That's a very, very important question. It goes back to something that Sundar said. The importance of understanding and laying a good IT infrastructure. At MCR HRDI, Sundar, we've actually done a study on why Hyderabad emerged from being a useless, sleepy town to one of the finest millennium cities, and they're actually there now. And you've seen that transformation. But on the specifically the data point, and to the other question that you asked, Sundar, on fake news, see, they are all connected. The ability to look at data, the ability and the honesty and the humility to look at numbers is very important. And that's from where all misunderstanding, all hype, all exaggeration, and all fake news emerges. And this is strangely political. You won't find that, see, 50 years ago, we had a press. There were lots of newspapers, thousands and lakhs of them actually. But did you have this problem of fake news? That was also a medium. That also could have peddled fake news. Why is it that in certain times fake news thrives? Why and why is it so closely related to the strangling of the free press? It is, see, data, information, it cleans itself out if you allow a lot of freedom there. You strangle it, and only a few will survive. And that's what we are seeing across the world today. This whole thing about controlling information. And the important point here to note is that there is a responsibility that we all have to use the data that is available. There is a lot of data available. We don't use it because data is very unsettling. It tells you the truth. In the absence of data, you can say whatever. But when you have data, then so therefore, how many people died of COVID? Well, if you don't have data, it can be very few, it can be the largest number. We still haven't been able to decide whether 5 lakhs died or 5 million died. Or migrants. Did the migrants walk back? So, and if you don't, then imagination runs wild. Then it actually hurts if you do not allow good data collection. It is good for the state, it is good for the industry, it's good for civil society, and it is good for economic development.
The connection between data and ethics?
Oh yeah. The whole story of data is a story of ethics.
Okay. Thank you. I think for those points, to all the experts, panel members, the views. I think we can have a lot of discussions because, but I think these insights are also important. Time to refresh ourselves, to make our thought process also more clearer. Every time we talk, there's a new thought, clarity comes to the mind also. Thank you so much to all the panel members. Thank you, Mr. Sundar, for coming and joining us. Mr. Jarek, Mr. Ahmed, Amir sir, thank you so much. थैंक यू ए बुक एक एक किताब दे दीजिए सर आपके पास ऑलरेडी है आपने ओके Sundar, yeah, you have already. So this is also a story that DEF has been focused in. Story has come up in G20 meetings. Okay.
You got this.
Jarek, you got it? Jarek had many already, I feel. Thank you so much. So we can release the book.
as we are running short on time, the next session where we were going to announce Northeast Digital Micro Grants Prize will be done shortly after our session on storytelling. So I would request Mr. Osama Manzar and Miss Natasha Badwar to join us and take us through the stories which will be narrated through these videos and let us know about journey of deaf through these 20 years. We will keep 2 seats.
हाँ, थैंक यू। अच्छा, आप लोगों को अंधेरे में कर दिया, हमें उजाले में। उल्टा होना चाहिए था। तो मैं नताशा के साथ बैठा हूँ। आप लोग पता नहीं कितने लोग जानते हैं नताशा जी को। अगर मैं सच बता दूंगा तो फिर यहाँ से वहाँ आप लोग इनको घेर लीजिएगा। नताशा जो हैं इंडिया की पहली वीडियो रिपोर्टर का न्यूज़ रिपोर्टर हैं ऑन अ टीवी चैनल। एनडीटीवी का नाम सुना है आपने? तो एनडीटीवी की सबसे पहली और इंडिया की सबसे पहली कैमरा पर्सन है ये। तो फिल्म बनाती हैं और हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बोर्ड पे हमारी खबर लेती हैं और बहुत अच्छी स्टोरी टेलिंग करती हैं। इनकी कहानियाँ जो लोग पढ़ते हैं वो दीवाने हो जाते हैं। तो आप लोग भी इनकी कहानियाँ पढ़िएगा, इनका नाम टाइप कीजिएगा ताकि इनका नाम नॉर्थ ईस्ट में भी खूब ज़बरदस्त फैले। तो हम लोग यहाँ पर बैठे हैं कहानियाँ सुनाने के लिए नहीं, कहानियाँ दिखाने के लिए। यहाँ पर 4-5 फिल्में बनी हैं जो हम लोग दिखाएंगे आप लोगों को। लेकिन मैं चूँकि सवेरे भी कुछ बोल रहा था, मैं शायद 1-2 चीज़ें बीच में नताशा से पूछूंगा, वो कुछ बताएंगी क्योंकि इसमें से बहुत सारी कहानी है जो इन्होंने देखी भी है और गई भी हैं। तो सबसे पहले जो बिफोर शोइंग यू सम मूवी आई वांटेड टू आस्क नताशा कि चूँकि फिल्म जो है टीवी पे फिल्म एक वर्जन जो है, हमको कहते हैं जब मोबाइल आया तो लोग कहते हैं इट्स अ 4th स्क्रीन। पहली स्क्रीन जो थी वो सिनेमा है, सेकेंड स्क्रीन जो है वो टीवी, एंड द थर्ड स्क्रीन इज पर्सनल कंप्यूटर, एंड फोर्थ स्क्रीन इज मोबाइल। तो इनसे मैं ये पूछना चाहूँगा कि जो ये सेकेंड स्क्रीन की में इनका बहुत ज़्यादा रोल रहा है, तो सेकेंड स्क्रीन से जब चौथे स्क्रीन में हम पहुँचे जो दुनिया अपना चुकी है, जिसको आप डिजिटल कहते हैं, तो उसको ये कैसे देखती हैं और क्या उनको वाकई लगता है कि ये फोर्थ स्क्रीन जो है लोगों को एम्पावर करेगी जो डिजिटल लेके चल रहा है?
थैंक यू सामा, आपने बहुत ही इम्प्रेसिव इंट्रोडक्शन दिया। टेलीविज़न हम लोग में ज़्यादातर लोगों को याद है कि हमारे अपने अपने घरों में, हमारे बचपन में टीवी हमारे घर कब आया था। हम लोग अक्सर मोबाइल के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात करते हैं कि ये बात मोबाइल आने से पहले की है। तब हमारे पास मोबाइल नहीं था, हम नेबर के घर जाके फ़ोन करते थे या पीसी जाके फ़ोन करते थे, या कितना वक्त लगता था या कितने पैसे लगते थे दूर बात करने में, एसटीडी कॉल या इंटरनेशनल कॉल करने में। और वो देखते देखते कितना जल्दी सबके हाथ में मोबाइल आ जाना, मोबाइल स्मार्टफोन में बदल जाना, और सबके हाथ में ये एक टेक्नोलॉजी आ जाना जिससे कि हम कभी भी तस्वीर ले सकते हैं, वीडियो बना सकते हैं, और दूर से बात ही नहीं, फ्री में व्हाट्सएप के थ्रू बात ही नहीं, लेकिन वीडियो कॉल भी कर लेते हैं, जो कि साइंस फिक्शन लगता था जब हम छोटे थे कि ऐसा थोड़ी कभी हो जाएगा कि सब अपना अपना फ़ोन लेके घूम रहे हैं या कहीं से भी कर रहे हैं या फिर उसमें एक दूसरे को देख भी पा रहे हैं। तो मेरी ट्रेनिंग थी फिल्म कैमरा के साथ। मैंने जब काम शुरू किया तो वीडियो कैमरा, टेलीविज़न में काम किया। करते करते अब और उन्हीं सालों में मैंने पढ़ाया भी है, कई बार स्टूडेंट्स के साथ भी काम किया है, ट्रेनीज़ के साथ काम किया है। और अब करते करते इतना ज़्यादा बदल गया है कि हम लोग इनकरेज करते हैं कि बाकी सारी महंगी टेक्नोलॉजी को एक तरफ रखें, उसका मौका लगता है तो ज़रूर इस्तेमाल करें, लेकिन अपने हाथ में जो हमारे पास जो एक्सेस है स्मार्टफोन का, उससे हर एक इंसान समझने की कोशिश करे कि हम अपनी कहानी कैसे सुना सकते हैं, और जो कहानियाँ हमारे पास आ रही हैं न्यूज़ के फॉर्म में या सोशल मीडिया में, उनको हम कैसे समझें कि क्या सही है, क्या गलत है, हम क्या चाहते हैं कि हमारे पास आता रहे और क्या हम चाहते हैं कि ये कम हो जाए, हम किसकी ऑडियंस बने और किसकी ऑडियंस ना बने। तो ये एम्पावरमेंट का तो बहुत बहुत बड़ा टूल है। इसका डिसएम्पावरमेंट के लिए इस्तेमाल होता हम देख रहे हैं, और ये एक बैलेंस है जो हम लोग सबके हाथ में है कि हम किस तरह से कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं इस लड़ाई में जो एम्पावरमेंट और डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल, चाहे वो शहर के हों, गांव के हों, मर्द हों, महिला हों, बच्चे हों, अमीर हों, गरीब हों, इंडिविजुअल के पास ये ताकत होना कि वो क्या देखना चाहते हैं और वो क्या बताना चाहते हैं, उसका वो इस्तेमाल कर पाते हैं कि नहीं। एंड इट्स वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट कि हम लोग सब इस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में कंट्रीब्यूट करें, उस चीज़ को जाने के लिए, उस चीज़ को बढ़ाने के लिए जिसमें हम बिलीव करते हैं।
तो जो ये कह रही हैं कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को हम लें और उसको फिर हम उस हिसाब से सोचें कि उसका कंटेंट क्या है, उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्या है। जैसे हम लोग अभी 4 स्क्रीन की बात कर रहे थे, अब मोबाइल में भी 2 स्क्रीन हो गए। एक जो है वो इंस्टाग्राम का स्क्रीन, तो अब इंस्टाग्राम पे जो फिल्म रिलीज करनी है वो मोबाइल खड़े में बनाना पड़ता है, उसको शूट करना पड़ता है, ठीक है ना। लेकिन उसी मोबाइल को हमको लैंडस्केप करना पड़ता है अगर हम ये सोचते हैं कि उसको हमको लैपटॉप पे दिखाना है या किसी फिल्म पे दिखाना है। जैसे साइकत हैं हमारे जो फिल्म मेकर और एडिटर हैं, तो ये सारी फिल्में जो उन्होंने बनाई हैं वो बड़े स्क्रीन की हैं, तो उनको हमने मोबाइल से खींचा हुआ ला के दिया, तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं ये तो हमें पलटना पड़ेगा, पलटेंगे तो वो फिर आधा दिखेगा, तो फिर उन्होंने फिर एक और वीडियो लगाया। तो ये भी एक अपने आप में ये है कि अगर आप सूचना प्रेमियों हैं और आपके साथ हम काम कर रहे हैं और आपसे बोला जा रहा है कि भाई आप वहाँ से रिपोर्ट भेजो कि आप कैसे काम कर रहे हो, तो कभी आप खड़े वीडियो में भेजते हो, कभी आप पलटे वीडियो में भेजते हो, तो आपके जो डीसी हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर, डिस्ट्रिक्ट ये क्या नाम है कोऑर्डिनेटर, वो बोलते हैं नहीं नहीं हमें तो लैंडस्केप चाहिए, हमें तो खड़ा नहीं चाहिए, ऐसा होता है ना। लेकिन आपको अगर किसी को एम्पावर करना है उसी को यूज करके, तो उसको कैसे लेना है, ये समझ हमें अपनी इकट्ठा करनी पड़ेगी। तो एक वीडियो देखते हैं हम। ये वीडियो जो बनाया गया है ये सूचना प्रेन्योर के ऊपर, अभी एक हमारे फिल्म मेकर हैं जे डॉट लोग, वो लोग गए थे फील्ड में और उन्होंने बनाया है। मेरे ख्याल से जितने आप लोग फील्ड से आए हैं उनके लिए तो कोई नई बात नहीं लगेगी, लेकिन बाकी लोगों के लिए दिख सकती है। सूचना प्रेन्योर हमारा एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम है जो 2000 लोकेशन पे है, और ये साबित करता है कि औरतें ज़्यादा अच्छी डिजिटल एंटरप्रेन्योर होती हैं और हो सकती हैं अगर वो गांव के एरिया में काम करें सक्षमता के साथ, डिजिटल को इस्तेमाल करके लोगों तक पहुंचाने पर। तो ये देखिए शायद इससे कुछ इंस्पिरेशन मिले। और अभी लाइट यहाँ की ऑफ करके उधर की ऑन करनी है।
हाँ बाजी, हाँ आधार कार्ड आया हुआ है। ले बाजी,
सब कुछ सही है।
हाँ सब सही है। सूचना प्रन्योर जो सूचनाओं का आदान प्रदान करता है उसे सूचना प्रन्योर कहते हैं। इसके बारे में मुझे किसी चीज़ की जानकारी नहीं थी। डीईएफ का नाम सुना, उसके बाद ट्रेनिंग दी गई। मेरा नाम जमीरुल निशा है और मेरी ये कहानी डिजिटल इंडिया की है। ट्रेनिंग देने के बाद हम गांव में लोगों से मिले, उनको हम जानकारी दी। कुछ लोग जो थे उनका मतलब घर पे कोई सहारा नहीं था, उनका कोई अकाउंट नहीं ओपन करवा रहा था, उनके हमने काम करवाया। सब अम्मी कहाँ गए? तो कुछ लोगों को पात्र भी थे, प्लस उनको पेंशन नहीं मिलती थी, तो उनका भी हमने काम करवाया।
अरे हमें तो जब आधार कार्ड की फोटोकॉपी जरूरत थी तो आपके पास गए थे। गांव में रह के जो आपने सुविधा दी ना बहुत अच्छा, क्योंकि सफदरगंज से आधा घंटा पैदल जाओ वापसी आओ, उससे तो अच्छा ये कम से कम गांव में हो जाए हर चीज़।
औरतों को समझाते हैं, उन्हें बताते हैं, जानकारी देते हैं।
पैन कार्ड बनवाए, खाता खुलवाए, हमारा पूरा साथ दिए, मेरा पैसा आने लगा।
टोका तो नहीं है, लेकिन कभी कभी ये होता है ना कि अपने से बड़े जो होते हैं बुजुर्ग लोग, उनको जब बताने लगो तो बोलेंगे आप हमें क्या बता रही हैं, कल की जो है पैदा हुई आज हमें आप बता रही हैं, और ये तो मुझे पहले से पता था क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है, ये चीज़ बताते हैं। और फिर जब हम समझाते हैं, उन्हें जानकारी देते हैं, वो तो फुल सपोर्ट करते हैं। अगर कोई वर्क हम करेंगे तो उसको बीच में नहीं छोड़ेंगे, फुल वर्क करेंगे, और कॉन्फिडेंस ये था कि हाँ कर लेंगे, इसका कॉन्फिडेंस।
आप लोग स्टॉल पे जाएंगे तो यहाँ एक किताब दिखेगी। ये किताब में ये आईएसटी की कुछ रिसर्चर्स हैं, उन्होंने ये डेटा से रिसर्च करके निकाला है कि ऐसे सेंटर्स अगर औरतें चलाती हैं तो वो कितना ज़्यादा उनकी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ जाती है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी बढ़ जाती है, और वो ज़्यादा अच्छा काम होता है, उसका असर ज़्यादा लोगों पे होता है। ये डेटा से साबित हुआ है, ये इसलिए नहीं कि डीएफ चला रहा है। इसीलिए हमारे 2000 सेंटर में से तकरीबन 1300 सेंटर जो हैं वो लड़कियां चलाती हैं, औरतें चला रही हैं। और हमारा इरादा ये है कि इंडिया में 2.5 लाख पंचायत हैं और वहाँ पे वो जो है 6600 ब्लॉक हैं, तो तकरीबन 3500 से 5000 जो ब्लॉक्स हैं वो बैकवर्ड ब्लॉक हैं। तो ये नंबर हम लोगों को उतने तक लेके जाना है ताकि आपके सामने एक शक्ल सूरत हो, साथ में डिजिटल हो, सिर्फ डिजिटल भी नहीं हो, सिर्फ शक्ल सूरत भी ना हो, दोनों साथ में लेके जाएंगे तो हमको सही इंफॉर्मेशन की जानकारी होगी तो हम सही काम कर पाएंगे। ये हमारा इरादा है। एक और आप चाहते हैं कि अपने एरिया में 2000, 2500, 5000 लोगों को ट्रेन कर दें और ऑटोमेटिकली कैसे ट्रेन करें लेकिन फुल्ली ऑटोमेटिक भी ना हो, तो एक मोबाइल बेस्ड स्किल बॉट बनाया है, उसके ऊपर है कि कैसे हम ट्रेनिंग वगैरह करते हैं, तो उसकी एक मूवी भी आप देख सकते हैं।
फ़ोन का यूज़ करना तो आप सभी को ही आता है, स्मार्टफोन का यूज़ करना। हम इस ऐप को ओपन करेंगे, इस पे लिखा हुआ है टेलीग्राम, ठीक है। ओपन करने के बाद हम यहाँ पे आएंगे सर्च में, और सर्च में हम DF को लिखकर सर्च मारेंगे तो हमारा जो चैट बूट है वो आ जाएगा। अपनी पसंद से कोई भी मॉड्यूल चुन सकते हो, कोई भी टॉपिक। तो आज हम बात करेंगे बीमा पर। यह खोलेंगे जब हम यह भी चैट बूट निकलेगा, यह पर हमने क्लिक कर दो इस तरह से। तो लोगों को सबसे पहले तो ये दिक्कत थी कि पेन से तो हम लिख लेते हैं, पर फ़ोन में यूज़ करने में तो काफ़ी दिक्कतें आती हैं लिखने में। मुझसे ही नहीं लिखा जाता अच्छे से हिंदी में। जैस्मिन आप बताइए, थोड़ा समझ में आया तो? उसमें सिर्फ क्लिक करना पड़ता, वो बहुत अच्छा, क्यों क्लिक करोगे तो आपका क्वेश्चन का जवाब आपको मिल जाएगा। सबसे पहले तो आपको स्टार्ट करना, उसके बाद में आपको अपना नाम वगैरह एरिया वाइज सब कुछ डालना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद में जिस मॉड्यूल पर आप जो सीखना चाहोगे, जिसमें सबसे ज़्यादा आपको इंटरेस्ट है, उसे क्लिक करिए और आपको उसके बारे में पूरी नॉलेज मिलेगी, संपूर्ण जानकारी। जैसे बोलते हैं कि बना बनाए खाने को मिल गया, एक प्रकार से ऐसा ही था वो। तो अभी आपने 5 क्वेश्चन में कि 4 रखी है, एक गलत था आपका। उसमें कुछ क्वेश्चन भी आते हैं कि आपका माइंड का रिवाइज कराने के लिए कि आपने कुछ सीखा है नहीं सीखा है। कोविड के टाइम पे ये बहुत अच्छा यूज़ किया था लोगों ने और बहुत बेनिफिट भी मिला। लोग वेट कर रहे हैं कि कब हमें उन्हें फ्री नेट कनेक्शन मिले और ऐसी फैसिलिटी मिले कि वो डिजिटल से अपना समय बचा सकें और अपना रोजगार भी कर सकें। तो सभी प्रकार के यूथ है इसमें और सभी को हमने समझाया था, पर दिक्कत महिलाओं के साथ में ज़्यादा आती है, क्योंकि फैमिली वाले जल्दी से भेजते नहीं है। क्या सिखा रहे हो, रोज़ क्या क्या इनके कान भरते हो, क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है फैमिली वालों को, तो उनके साथ में थोड़ी डील करनी पड़ती है और टाइम भी ज़्यादा लगता है, तो इसीलिए। पर जब हम कोशिश करते हैं तो कहें कि कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, तो फिर बाद में रिजल्ट मिल ही जाता है। बहुत ज़्यादा बदलाव पड़ा और मुझे लगता है कि 1-2 साल में तो पूरा इंडिया डिजिटल हो जाएगा, चाहे वो गाँव हो या शहर हो।
साइकत एक और दिखा दीजिए। अभी फिल्म फेस्टिवल चल रहा है।
पहले तो क्या था कि किसी चीज़ का फॉर्म है, उस फॉर्म को कहीं से लेकर के आते थे, फिर उसको फिल करते थे, फिल करने के बाद में फिर उसको पोस्ट ऑफिस में जमा करना होता है, तो यानी कि टाइम भी और जो है पैसे भी वेस्ट करना होता था। मैं जो है एक पैर से अपाहिज हूँ और मैं ये सोच रहा था कि बजाय अपनी मदद के मैं लोगों की मदद करूँ, तो मैंने सोचा कि इससे अच्छी जो सुविधा मैं और क्या दे सकता हूँ, इस वजह से मैंने CIRC को चुना। CIRC लोगों को सर्विस प्रोवाइड कराती है डिजिटल माध्यम से। 24 घंटे कभी भी जो है हम इस डिजिटल माध्यम से जो है उस फार्म को फिल कर देते हैं। आधार कार्ड के अंदर जो भी अपडेट हैं या उनका प्रिंट निकालना है। दूसरा है पैन कार्ड। इसके लिए पहले क्या था कि यहाँ से जाते थे दूर, तो वहाँ से बनता था, कई दिनों के अंदर बनता था पहले, लेकिन अब क्या है कि हमारे यहाँ से डिजिटल के माध्यम से पैन कार्ड बहुत जल्दी बन जाता है। मैं पहले कंप्यूटर के बारे में बिल्कुल भी अनजान था, तो इसके लिए मैं जो है अपने ताउडू शहर के अंदर गया और वहाँ से मैंने ये सीखा था। खेतों के अंदर क्या है कि जैसे किसान भाई ये काम कर रहे हैं, उनको जो है शहर जाने के लिए कोई साधन नहीं है या फिर जो कह सकते हैं उनके लिए टाइम नहीं है, तो ये मोबाइल वैन वहाँ पर जा कर के उन लोगों को सुविधाएं उपलब्ध कराती है। चलता फिरता सेंटर भी कह सकते हैं। आ जाओ। जो मनी ट्रांसफ़र है क्या है कि इसके लिए लोग बाग पहले बैंकों के अंदर जाते थे, वहाँ स्लिप भरते थे, लाइन में खड़े होते थे, लेकिन अब ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। अब यहाँ पर आए, यहाँ से डिपॉजिट भी कर सकते हैं और विड्रॉल भी कर सकते हैं।
सारे बुजुर्ग जो हैं यहाँ से पेंशन ले जाते हैं, आने जाने में टाइम नहीं लगे, टाइम ख़राब नहीं हुए, पैसा नहीं लगे, और वहाँ तो भाड़ा किराया लगे, बुजुर्ग करने को ले भी ना जाए, तो इसके साथ बहुत सुविधा है।
मैं अपने आप को कभी भी विकलांग नहीं समझता। मैं कोई भी काम है उसको सहज और सरल कर लेता हूँ। जो मेरी तरह से अपाहिज हैं वो किसी पर डिपेंड ना रहें, वो खुद अपने एक अंदर एक हिम्मत रखें और हिम्मत रख कर के वो काम को करेंगे तो सभी काम आसान हो जाते हैं।
तो इसमें ये दो तीन जो आप लोगों ने देखा, उसमें दो तीन मैसेज जो हम लोग कन्वे करना चाह रहे हैं कि हम जब कहीं गांव में जाते हैं तो एक तो ये कि हम चुनते हैं ऐसे कि जहाँ जितना ज़्यादा बुरा हाल हो, जितना ज़्यादा चैलेंजेस हों, तो आपने देखा कि या तो लेडी या तो डिसेबल्ड या फिर माइनॉरिटी या फिर कोई दलित, तो ऐसे को ही हम लोग ज़्यादातर चुनने की कोशिश करते हैं, क्योंकि ये वही लोग हैं जिनके तक लास्ट माइल या तो पहुंच नहीं रहा है या उनको सबसे ज़्यादा वो परेशानी हो रही है। प्लस इनके साथ काम करने से एक और बात है कि ये अगर कुछ शुरू करते हैं सर्विस, तो बाकी सब लोग सर्विस लेने आ जाते हैं, लेकिन थोड़ा कोई कास्ट में थोड़ा ऊपर हो या कुछ हो तो उसके पास नहीं जाते हैं, लोग डरते भी हैं। तो इसमें डिजिटल से सब काम नहीं हो जाता, उसमें भी बहुत डायनामिक्स हैं। वहाँ पर आप दे दिया किसी अपर कास्ट को कोई चला रहा है तो कोई लोअर कास्ट वाले डर डर के नहीं जाएंगे। तो इस तरह की भी बहुत सारे डायनामिक्स हैं जो हम लोगों को जाते हैं तो सीखने में आता है, तो जिसकी वजह से आप देख रहे हो। प्लस ये भी देख रहे हैं कि एक ही शख्स है जो जिसके पास इक्विपमेंट आ रहे हैं, फिर वो सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, फिर वो हर तरह का काम कर रहे हैं, पढ़ाने लिखाने से लेके सर्विस से लेके सब तरह का काम कर रहे हैं, और प्लस वही टेक्नोलॉजी ले रहे हैं यूज़ करने के लिए, ना कि टेक्नोलॉजी उनको यूज़ कर रहा है। ये एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है। तो हम लोग हमेशा जैसे गिग इकोनॉमी और उसकी बात करते हैं कि ऑटोमेट कर दें हर चीज़, तो ऑटोमेशन जो है वो फाइनल रिजल्ट नहीं है, आपको उसको किसी के हाथ में देना पड़ेगा उसका सही असर होने के लिए। You want to say something?
हाँ, ये जो सामा कह रहे थे कि किस तरह से चूज़ करते हैं कि गांव में किन को सूचना प्रेन्योर बनाने के लिए इंकरेज किया जाए, तो ये कहानियाँ देखकर पहले तो मुझे ख्याल आ रहा था जब सामा ने कहा कि आप लोग तो जानते, आप में से जो सूचना प्रेन्योर हैं उनको लगेगा ये कहानी तो हम जानते हैं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि अपनी कहानी देखने से जो इंकरेजमेंट मिलती है और अपनी कहानी को तस्वीर में इस तरह से उतार के जब हम देखते हैं तो हमें एहसास होता है कि हाँ, मेरी कहानी की अहमियत है, माई स्टोरी मैटर्स, माई लाइफ मैटर्स, और मैं जो काम कर रहा हूँ उसका माने है। नहीं तो हमें तो आदत होती है ना कि वो किसी और की ही हमेशा सुनेंगे, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है, हम नहीं हैं। तो ये अपनी कहानी की बहुत बड़ी वैल्यू होती है जो हमें एक दूसरे को कॉन्फिडेंस देना है सुनाने के लिए और सुनने के लिए। और दूसरा यही कि इनको जब हम देखते हैं और उनकी कॉन्फिडेंस हमारे सामने स्क्रीन पर इस तरह से आती है तो हमारे अपने कितने स्टीरियोटाइप टूटते हैं ना, कि बहुत छोटी बच्ची जैसी लग रही है, मुसलमान है, ज़्यादा पढ़ी लिखी नहीं है, तो इसका तो ज़्यादा कोई मोटिवेशन नहीं होगा, ये क्या कर लेगी। और इसी सब स्टीरियोटाइप के कारण कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी देता नहीं है। तो ये एक डुअल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि अपॉर्चुनिटी उनको दी जाए जो उसका सबसे सही इस्तेमाल करेंगे, और सोशल चेंज फिर वहीं से आएगा। ये जब नॉर्मलाइज होगा कि गांव में यंग विमेन या डिसेबल्ड या लोअर कास्ट लोग इतना एम्पावरमेंट का काम कर रहे हैं और कॉन्फिडेंस से कर रहे हैं।
तो स्टेम देखें या आरसीसी? आरसीसी दिखा दीजिए।
गांव वाले तो कुछ दिन तक तो ये सब माने ही नहीं कि ऐसा कुछ यहाँ है ही नहीं है। बाहर आना जाना है, मास्क नहीं लगाना है, इधर उधर थूक देना।
गलत मैसेज डाल रहे थे कि टीका लगवाने से मौत हो जाएगी।
तो उन्होंने मतलब एक जिद बना ली थी कि हम नहीं लगवाएंगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा। मेरा नाम पम्मी शुक्ला है।
मेरा नाम माला है। ये मेरी कहानी डिजिटल इंडिया की है।
कोविड के दौरान हम लोगों से मिले और बहुत सारी उनकी भ्रांतियां थी, उसके बारे में भी बात की।
पहले अफवाह फैली थी कि धूप में रहने से कोरोना नहीं होता है, तो लोग बोलते कि हम लोग तो पूरा दिन खेत में काम करते हैं गांव में, इसलिए हम लोग को ना तो मास्क लगाने की ज़रूरत है, ना वैक्सीन लेने की ज़रूरत है। लेकिन यहाँ पर काफ़ी लोग कोरोना से पॉजिटिव हुए,
तो उसके बाद से फिर लोगों के अंदर एक डर पैदा हो गया।
हम लोगों ने व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से सही जानकारी लोगों को देना शुरू की। तो भीड़ भाड़ वाली जगह अगर ज़रूरत ना हो तो ना जाएं।
तो हम लोग घर घर जाके डोर टू डोर विजिट किया और उन लोगों को मास्क भी वितरित किए। फिर हम लोगों ने वीडियो के जरिए और मोबाइल के जरिए एक एक चीज़ उन लोगों को बताई कि नहीं ऐसा कुछ है यहाँ पे। शुरुआत में तो सर बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल है इन लोगों को समझाने में। गाँव में जाके ऐसा लोग करते हैं कि बस आप लोगों के पास इतना ही काम है, चल देते हैं यहाँ औरतों को भड़काने। कई बार ही लोग दरवाज़ा ही बंद कर लेते थे।
खेत भाग जाते या फिर कोई इधर उधर भाग जाता, बोलते कि वैक्सीन नहीं लगवाएंगे, हम टीका तब लगवाएंगे जब आप लगवाएंगे, जब तक आप नहीं लगवाएंगे हम नहीं लगेंगे, हमें कोई प्रूफ चाहिए। तब हमारे फादर इल्ला और मदर इल्ला थे, उनको कैंप में जाकर टीका लगवाएं, तब लोगों को विश्वास हुआ। तो उस वक्त टीका नहीं लगवा रहे थे लोग, लेकिन मेरे गांव में 50 टीके लगे थे।
वैक्सीन सुरक्षित और प्रभावी है और कोविड के विरुद्ध हमें प्रतिरोधक क्षमता देती है, इसलिए भारतीय वैक्सीनों पर भरोसा रखें। अपनी बारी आने पर वैक्सीन।
हम लोग सर ई-रिक्शा से अनाउंसमेंट कराते हैं, आइए ना, दे देना बाद में। कभी बाजार में चले गए या कोई मेला उला लग जाता है या अपने ही गांव में ई-रिक्शा से निकलते हैं लोगों को, ये सब चीज़ें और साफ सफाई का ध्यान रखना। हम लोग पम्पलेट भी होता है तो वो भी देते हैं, पोस्टर देते हैं कि हाँ बाहर भी रहना है तो किस सावधानी के साथ रहना, मास्क लगाना, ये सब चीज़ अपनी सुरक्षा की बात है। अनाउंसमेंट का सर है, लोग हैं सुन के थोड़ी देर में शायद उसको भुला दें, लेकिन वॉल मैसेजिंग में है जैसे एक लोग रोज निकलते हैं घर से, उस पर रोज नजर पड़ेगी।
तो वो जो पढ़े लिखे हैं अगर उस रास्ते से निकल रहे हैं तो जब तक उन लोगों को दिखता है वो, तब तक वो लोग पढ़ते रहते हैं दूर तक, जब तक दिखता है कि क्या लिखा है इस पर, क्या जानकारी है। और जो नहीं पढ़े लिखे वो चित्र के माध्यम से समझ जाते हैं कि ये वॉल मैसेजिंग जो है हमें क्या संदेश दे रही है।
हमारा एक यूथ ग्रुप भी है जिसमें उन लोगों को भी हम बताते हैं, समझाते हैं कि हम लोगों को किस तरह से लोगों को भी जागरूक करना है, खुद जागरूक होकर रहना है।
इससे हम लोगों की मदद कर रहे हैं, अपने लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं, लोगों के लिए कर रहे हैं।
जो लोग पहले दरवाज़ा बंद कर लेते थे अब जाते हैं, बात करते हैं, बातें जो समझाते हैं वो बातें समझते हैं।
बात ये थी कि ये प्रोग्राम हमें करने को भी मिला यूनिसेफ से, क्योंकि हमारे पास 2000 जगहों पे महिलाएं और वो थे, और वो चाह रहे थे कि जितना ज़्यादा जगह कैसे जाएं, और वो भी इनके पास मोबाइल भी हो और डिजिटल का माध्यम भी हो। तो उनको लगा कि अरे ये तो इतना अच्छा नेटवर्क है। तो और हमारे लिए अच्छा इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि हम हर सूचना प्रेमियों को हर महीने 2500 रुपये दे पाते थे ये काम करने के लिए। तो जिस वक्त किसी की आमदनी नहीं थी उस वक्त उनकी आमदनी भी चल रही थी। तो ये सूचना प्रेमियों वहाँ पर जो हैं वो कई तरीके से बहुत हैं, और आपने देखी हुई जितनी भी फिल्में देखी सब में रोल इन्फॉर्मेशन का ही है। लेकिन आप ये सोचो कि व्हाट्सएप खुद तो नहीं बोलता है कि मैं फॉरवर्ड हो रहा हूँ, मैं गलत फॉरवर्ड हूँ या सही फॉरवर्ड हूँ, लेकिन इंसान तो बोल सकता है ना। तो फ्यूचर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इज ऑल्सो डिपेंडेंट ऑन ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन। तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम देखें, हम अगर टेक्नोलॉजी डाल रहे हैं तो वहाँ पर आर्टिफिशियल की जगह नेचुरल इंटेलिजेंस भी है। सिर्फ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से आर्टिफिशियल ही रह जाएगा। तो अब हम विदा लेते हैं, लेकिन अब लास्ट में एक आपके लिए एक छोटा सा वीडियो छोड़ के जा रहे हैं। वो हमारा पिछले 20 साल में कैसे डीएफ ग्रो किया है वो आपको दिखाएगा।
Okay. It was like watching a very, Avatar 3 kind of a thing, the sound and the music and all. And Osama being the main character. Yeah, thank you. So I think I think we wanted to also have the Digital Swaraj Fellowship launched here in Guwahati for the region, because we have launched on 20th here Digital Swaraj Fellowship launch, and also a launch of this Northeast Innovation Prize Challenge that in 2023 we want to have start from January. So can we wait for that launch? We have a tea break and then we come back. 10 minutes? And then we'll, after that, 15-20 minutes of this thing, and then we'll have some cultural program, and then we will, I think, thank you for the day hoga fir uske baad. Yeah. So let's go for a tea and coffee and snacks and feel, good. And in 10 minutes we'll come back, 10-15 minutes at the max, yes.
I would request all the guests to take their seat as we are all set to start our next session. I would, I would request Mr. Syed Kazi to come on stage. मैं चली जाऊँ जाके बैठी तो मैं मिलने वाली हूँ अभी बस
सबके माटी दिया है ये सके और साइड पे भी पड़ा साइड पे भी हाँ हाँ तो थोड़ा जल्दी करते हैं क्योंकि शाम हो गया है गुवाहाटी में शाम जल्दी हो जाता है 8 बजे खा के सोना होता है हंसना नहीं है नेचुरल प्रोसेस है लेकिन हम लोग डिजिटल आया बिजली आया तो हम रात को ही दिन बना दिए और क्या कर सकते हैं वो अलग बात है सुबह भी जल्दी होती है और जल्दी होते हैं लेकिन लोग वही पुरानी आदत जाता नहीं उठते हैं लेट ही उठते हैं Anyway, so good evening. I think I'll take 10-15 minutes of a presentation that some initiatives that we are launching on the dance बाद में हाँ so सब लोग एक साथ डांस करेंगे and then we'll go home so इसीलिए तो अभी the first thing is on the 20th year of Digital Empowerment Foundation. So here we are launching two things. One is a Digital Swaraj Fellowship, which is of a paid fellowship program per month basis. But Digital Swaraj Fellowship is all about how digital volunteers, digital fellows can work with the community in remote areas, in remote districts. That is a fellowship that we are launching here so that the information also pass on to our Northeastern community, the people that we are here, the organizations, and that is what we will first present a video of the fellowship program so that more people can participate in the fellowship program and apply for that. So this is the first video. I urge Saikat to play that video.
Hi, do you really want to become digital change maker? Here is a chance. At Digital Empowerment Foundation, which started in 2002, when connectivity was just 17 million, in 20 years we have reached 700 million people in India. But all of them are not meaningfully connected. People are dependent on digital, but they are not digitally enabled. Day in, day out, we have to work for more than 60% of our population to get digitally empowered. It's an oath that we have taken to take to all the villages. How do we really digitally empower them? We can't do it without you. If you are interested, we are launching a digital fellowship program, and you must be interested in this one because it is going to change our rural life, but it is also going to change your life. You can play a huge role by joining this fellowship, which is for 1 year, and it continues every year after year. And after the fellowship, you can join regularly to work in the villages, for the people who are unconnected, for the people who want to be connected, for the people who are dependent on connectivity, but they don't have connectivity. Their life is dependent on digital, but they don't have digital. You can enable it by joining Digital Swaraj Fellowship. Do go in detail and join it. Thank you.
So the benefit of having a digital medium of communication is that you see a video, you have the basic information, and then you go to the website and get the details, read, spend more time, understand, and get back with your questions or something that you may have, and then you can apply for the fellowship. And every details are there in the portal digitalswarajfellowship.org. So I think this information, we should take it and we can spread that information through our partner organizations and all. So the next is, on this 20th occasion, 20th year of Digital Empowerment Foundation, so we intend to launch a program, so Northeast Digital Empowerment Challenge 2023, which is about, I will just run through some of the slides that will be important, could be important for us. Of course, we can again communicate itself. So as we have been the whole day, हम लोगों ने बात किया कि digital inclusion कितना कम है, कितना challenges है, हम नॉर्थ ईस्ट में specifically, because दिल्ली में बैठ के या हम कहीं और बैठ के हम वो नॉर्थ ईस्ट को envisage हम पढ़ लेते हैं, सुन लेते हैं, बट वहाँ के जो समस्याएं हैं या कुछ स्पेसिफिक सॉल्यूशंस की ज़रूरत है, इस तरह के स्ट्रेटजी या प्रोग्राम्स की ज़रूरत है, वो शायद वहाँ बैठ के नहीं होता. इसीलिए आई थिंक वी आर सिटिंग हियर, वी विल बी हियर एंड वी शुड हैव अ प्रोग्राम लाइक दिस. सो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. So this is just a few data sets जो हमने नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे से अभी निकाले हैं, जो कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का सर्वे है. अभी लेटेस्ट वाला रिपोर्ट से कि इंटरनेट का एक्सेस एक उदाहरण है यहाँ शेयर किया है. एंड सी द सम बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन दैट द एक्सेस टू इंटरनेट इन रूरल वुमेन इज सो लेस in states in Assam and Meghalaya. You can see the access to internet, even the 28% in Meghalaya for rural women, and it's And I think for rural women is, so it's a 28% in Meghalaya, and it's 20, I think the data is something, yeah. So that is 28.2% should be for rural women in Assam. So that is a kind of a statistics, and you can see the kind of a mobile penetration also the women are using. So एक आई थिंक अभी सेशंस में पहले भी बोला है कि डेटा इन्फॉर्मेशन हमारे पास भी नहीं होता है कि किस तरह का डिजिटल एडॉप्शन कितना है, डिवाइसेस का कितना है, लेकिन पहली बार फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे ने इस 3 डेटा को कैप्चर किया है पैन इंडिया में स्टेट वाइज, जो हमने उसी गवर्नमेंट ऑथेंटिक सोर्स से हमने डेटा लेके वी आर सीइंग दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो। और इससे क्या है, इससे एक इंडिकेशन मिलता है कि हमारे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में और दूर दराज डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में, हिमालयन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में कितना काम की ज़रूरत है, कर सकते हैं हम लोग। नेक्स्ट, तो ये जो चैलेंज है, चैलेंज का ऑब्जेक्टिव्स है कि कैसे डिजिटल इंक्लूजन एंड एम्पावरमेंट के ऊपर हम लोग काम कर सकते हैं, जैसे वल्नरेबल ग्रुप्स कम्युनिटीज़ हो, आदिवासीज़ हो और ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज़ हो या पहाड़ी कम्युनिटीज़ हो और माइनॉरिटीज़ हो, whomsoever, और ऊपर से हमारे जो नीति आयोग का जो एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स है, जो बैकवर्ड डिस्ट्रिक्ट कहलाता है, वो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में काफ़ी है। असम में कितने एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स है, तो वहाँ कैसे हम लोग काम कर सकते हैं, इसके लिए पहले। दूसरा है कैसे हम इंटरनेट एंड डिजिटल एक्सेस को हम कैसे बढ़ावा दे सकते हैं, कम्युनिटी में, कम्युनिटी लेवल में एक्सेस को कैसे बढ़ावा दे सकते हैं ताकि वो लोगों को डिजिटली उनको एक्सेस टू सर्विसेज एंड बेनिफिट्स अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिले। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। तो ये सम ऑफ द थीमेटिक एरियाज दैट वी हैव आइडेंटिफाइड कि जो एप्लीकेशन जब खुलेंगे हम लोग, सो दीज आर द एरियाज दैट वी वांट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस टू अप्लाई ऑन द एजुकेशन एंड लर्निंग स्पेस में, फिर आपका हेल्थ एंड वेलबींग, लाइवलीहुड, आर्ट एंड कल्चर, ये सब। और मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंटली इसमें है कैंपेन एंड एडवोकेसी में, कि डिजिटल के माध्यम से कैंपेन एंड एडवोकेसी कैसे हम कर सकते हैं अलग अलग समस्याएं को ऊपर। लेकिन एक और चीज़ तो और एक है मेन चीज़ है, अहम है वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट के ऊपर। आप लोग क्या आइडियाज़ ऐसा हो सकता है, क्या सॉल्यूशंस हम ला सकते हैं जो कि हम एक एग्जाम्पल हम वी कैन ब्रिंग ऑन द कम्युनिटी ऑन द मैप कि इस तरह का डिजिटल सॉल्यूशन इनिशिएटिव पॉसिबल है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। So these are the some of the selection, जब selections की बारी आएंगी, जब we want to have selections, what are the important points we would like to consider is that to identify technology innovations for human development, किस तरह का small basic solutions, I think we are not talking about very sophisticated solution, very simple solution, or the technique to deploy a solution also is innovation. How do you already technology है या platform already, but the method and technology would be different, ताकि आम लोगों को आसानी तरीके से चीज़ों को पहुंच सके उनके हाथों में, उनके पास, घर में। तो एनकरेज इनोवेशन, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, ऊपर से टेक सॉल्यूशंस टू फाइट मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन है, डिजिटल टॉक्सिसिटी, मतलब फेक न्यूज़, मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन का क्या कोई ऐसा कुछ उपाय हम लगा सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, असम इज़ द 3rd हाईएस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइबर क्राइम्स इन इंडिया अकॉर्डिंग टू द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स का जो लेटेस्ट रिपोर्ट है। लगातार असम साइबर क्राइम्स अगेंस्ट वुमेन इज़ वेरी हाई, 3rd इन इंडिया आफ्टर महाराष्ट्र एंड तेलंगाना। तो जिसके ऊपर हम लोग एक स्टडी भी कर रहे हैं अभी, असम और तेलंगाना को कंपैरेटिव लेके हुए हम लोग स्टडी उसके ऊपर कर रहे हैं। तो एंड ऑल्सो एजुकेशन इश्यूज एंड ऑल्सो लाइक टू कि इस तरह का सॉल्यूशन कैसे हम स्केल अप कर सकते हैं, उस तरह का हम लोग इनोवेशन हम देखना चाहेंगे। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। So since this is a micro kind of initiative for the first time we are doing, so probably we'll look at some funding in this pattern out of 2 to 5 lakhs, and also 12 months of duration. We would like to have a kind of a project, because we don't want to expand so much. We want to see what the initial 12 months some innovations can come in, and how can we scale it up for other expansion mode में हम लोग इस किसी भी solution or project को हम scale up कर सकते हैं। Next slide. तो ये एक्सेस प्रायोरिटी क्या है, व्हाट आर द प्रायोरिटीज है, इंटरनेट एंड इंफॉर्मेशन, योर आइडियाज, योर सॉल्यूशंस, योर प्रोजेक्ट्स, इफ इट कैन एड्रेस इंटरनेट एक्सेस एंड कनेक्टिविटी एंड इंफॉर्मेशन related needs of the communities who are vulnerable and backward. I think we are looking at that perspective. Then we are looking at how technology can help to access opportunities, whether it's a livelihood or employment or designs or agriculture related opportunities to access karte hue, all those things how can we connect. Then skills, how our ideas and solutions can also lead to digital skill building, capacity building of women or farmers or maybe transgenders also, because that is another legal community that even I think that we all know, unke liye kya kya solution ho sakta hai.
Then platforms and tools, how your solution can also help to because there are so many platforms, there are so many solutions in the digital world, what is relevant, what is not relevant. How can you customize that access also for the community that you're serving is also important. How can you customize that accessibility? उनके लिए क्या ज़रूरत है ताकि उनको भटकना ना पड़े, मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन जाल में ना फंसे, फेक न्यूज़ में ना फंसे, तो उनका हाउ डू कस्टमाइज दैट थिंग ऑल्सो इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके बाद राइट्स एंड एंटाइटलमेंट्स हैं, उनका जो हक है हमारा सरकारी योजनाओं से संबंधित जो भी बेनिफिट्स है, स्कीम्स, अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं, तो डिजिटल माध्यम से कैसे उनका रीच हम बढ़ा सकते हैं, दैट इज़ ऑल्सो a kind of a priority focus, will be a priority focus for the challenge. Next. So these are all common criteria. NGOs, and then ये सब नीति आयोग का दर्पण का registration होना, फिर आपका 12 and ATG registration होना. FCRA is desirable, but we have kept it as compulsory. But अगर हो तो अच्छा हो, because that is will comply, another compliance need will be fulfilled. So FCRA होगा तो I think that is more important. And then 3 years of minimum operations we are looking at, and also I think we are also through this challenge we are also trying to promote small organizations who are trying to come to a stage of digital empowerment for the community. इसीलिए I think we have kept a kind of a bracket कि ऐसे ऐसे संगठन हैं जो काम करना चाहते हैं, छोटे छोटे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिनको उनको सपोर्ट सिस्टम की भी ज़रूरत है और उनको आगे आने की ज़रूरत है, because we all know that those are access related funding challenges. I will finish. Next slide. So we intend to launch in January, and this call for applications close on February, announcement by March, and project implementation. Selected projects. We are looking at projects from all 8 states. Of course, Assam, of course, always a priority application-wise, but Sikkim and Nagaland, Manipur, and all those states also needs to participate effectively. We look at those kind of a thing. Next slide. So this is some kind of a logistical thing supported by and who will manage this challenge and competition. So it will be prize money announcement through this grand prize program, and selection will be jury panel will select online based selections, and we'll have tight process to select those applications and process those applications, and that is how we want to close that process and start the process from next financial year from April onwards. So I think you have to wait. You have to visit our website for the next update. I think with all those announcements and details, you can get back to us. So I think that's it. Since I think we cannot go into more details now, because of course time is also a challenge now. So you had some question. Previous slide, second. आगे पीछे आगे हाँ. हाँ sorry, वो हम लोग रिवर्स जाना चाहते थे ताकि हम वापस आ जाए पीछे. My goodness, your eyesight are really strong. Great, thank you for that corrections. Any other questions? Anybody you have? I know time is. We will make it available in the next 1 week. Yeah. Any other questions? Last question. No question. Thank you so much. But be in touch. I think we will start the process, and I think we will start the exercise together. Thank you so much. Over to Tanmoy. So now we'll have some music and dance and all, and then we'll go happily singing those some things. Oh, last felicitation. Okay, yes. So yes. So I have been asked to request Natasha Vadwa ma'am. Are you up?
Bina aapka felicitation, I think we won't be happy also. You have come such a long way. Osama, I think, please. आई कोई बात नहीं, आई है ना. एक साथ story telling भी हो गया है, एक साथ you can felicitate also. Please come. Yes. एक आपको चुटकुला सुनाता हूँ. एक आदमी के पास ना बहुत ज्यादा पैसा नहीं था, थोड़ा पैसा था. तो एक बार मैं उसके घर गया तो बोनट रखा हुआ था उसके घर. मैंने कहा ये क्या है? बोला मारुति का बोनट. मैंने कहा ये क्या कर रहा है? बोला गाड़ी नहीं खरीद सकता हूँ, बोनट खरीदा है, धीरे धीरे गाड़ी खरीदूंगा.
So, since we are done with all this essential information that we need throughout this journey, how we have traveled, so our event cannot be finished, or it remains incomplete without the cultural part. So, we have this cultural performance today. So, মই ক'ব বিচাৰিছোঁ যে সংস্কৃতিৰ আমি যি প্ৰদৰ্শন ইয়াত নকৰোঁ, তেতিয়াহ'লে কোনো ধৰণৰ আমি যদি অনুষ্ঠান যদি আমি ইয়াতে আজি উদযাপন কৰিব খুজিছোঁ, সেইটো আধাৰুৱা হৈ ৰয়. সেইটো কাৰণে মই আজি ইয়াত পোনপ্ৰথমে মই পৱন কান্তি নাথ দেৱক মঞ্চত এটা এছমিছ ফোক ছং গাবলৈ কাৰণে আমন্ত্ৰণ জনাইছোঁ.